Warriors, who's ready? Sinatra, you ready? Blake's always ready. Shahab, hi. How you doing, Bran? Glenn? Hi, K-Man, Mike, AJ, Paul, Ryan. Okay, so here we are. The Maginot Line in Canada. So stop hunt really hasn't happened yet, but pretty important here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Got here before Friday, Ryan.
Yeah.
So I know you're looking more towards that event, yeah, setting up the stage for maybe a reversal. But the dollar it almost shows, even though the dollar is up, right, against euro anyway. Dixie up 15, Canada's still down.
Yeah, it's just everyone's just watching and waiting. We've got this little pause moment. I think your stops are going to be through 35.80. That's where they'll be
This low
sitting.
right here?
Yeah, they'll be sitting just below those little lows under the figure.
I have a question for you. We had this big rally in euro pound that's pulling back. Right now looks almost like an ABC, and 85 should hold, right? If you're a bull, and back under 85 would not look good.
Yep. Well, unless you're
Is that your
short, then
level?
it look very good.
Okay. All right. Because this looks to me, I'm not an elitician, but I'd call this impulsive. It got there in a hurry. That's what, and then, this looks like just working it off, maybe some kind of flag developing here. Just something, there might be if you're a believer in a broader bear market in the dollar, I think this should be going higher, in a bear market in the dollar. I think the euro should outperform, but, that's old school. So I don't know what school we're in now. Central Planning University.
Well, I don't know if you see our chat room. Sometimes it's more like kindergarten, but there we go.
Yeah. All right. So, any news or anything that is compelling to you with these
No, not
levels?
this. Everyone's just got their eyes fixed on this bloody jobs revision stuff. Most we don't even blink at this data normally, but because everyone's getting uppity about the Fed and trying to see if they're going to cut 20 times before the end of the year and all that cobblers, the market's got its eyes on it. But yeah, we've still got the overhang of what's going on in Israel. Hamas, there's just been a headline out saying that Iran's warning warning the east of their country that missiles are to be fired by the 22nd of August. So that's still hanging over our heads.
And what's the condition if there's not a ceasefire?
Well, they've said that their retaliation has nothing to do with the ceasefire. So you know what these guys are like. They like to shout and scream, and let's hope it's just kept to shouting and screaming. But they didn't do anything last week. They're still threatening to do something. We still need to have that in the back of our minds, even if the market has now eased off in oil, on the fact they haven't done anything yet.
Ever wish you were an ostrich and we chose this business that we're in, but all the stuff that we have to look at isn't that cheery sometimes, and a lot of people just go around. You're out there, and you know that most of the people out there are completely oblivious to it and envy their ostrich existence.
Head in the sand. Yeah, that's trading for you, isn't it? Last week the market was paying attention to this Iran stuff. Oil was rallying, and nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, oil falls out of bed again. I said it would do that when we got the fundamentals, but now we might get a headline and oil spikes again, gold spikes again. We're still not out of the woods. I'd still potentially look to hit a spike like that
Okay, you still
gold,
think
oil.
we could have a spike here's the way gold looks to me. I mean, anything can happen, but we tried to close back inside this formation. We didn't do it, you know. Um, yeah, good pop again.
Yeah,
I don't know. I prefer the silver. Um, it's a tough call here. I can't buy it. I did do a short day trade yesterday, just a day trade, and um, I don't know. I have a hard time holding anything right now, actually, except what I may have done a few weeks ago. New
yeah.
stuff I don't feel as confident about. Do you think that Dixie, we're approaching this Maginot line in the Dixie, right? It's, right down here. We're still, 100 away from this
Well,
two
you got
200.
two trains of thought here, really. Take today in this jobs revision. If it's a bad one, the market's expecting a bad one, so you might get a little, a small dip, and then it rallies because it's, buy rumor, sell fact, or sell rumor, buy
Yeah.
fact, whatever way you want to call it. Or it's not as bad as expected, and the dollar's going to rally. But how far is it going to rally before the usual Fed sellers come in and say, "Oh, that's too rich for us. We're going to start selling dollars again."
Okay.
So either way you get a rally, I think a rally is limited.
Yeah. I think I think it may be more like a lot of people um, would be short the dollar. The question is, are they short the dollar? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're bearish, but they're coming around to being bearish, and they don't want to sell it in the hole. Okay,
Well, you'd be
I think
surprised.
yeah. So let's bring Stelios is here. Let me
Hello.
just yeah. How are you, buddy? I just want to get K-Man's take on yen action here. Do you think there's a possibility that there he is? Oh, there's K-Man. All right. That this was maybe just A, okay, and we're pulling back for a B, and we're going to get another rally,
Hmm.
maybe back
I,
up towards
I was
152.
saying today, I mean, looking at the volatility in yen, it could be a pretty binary affair. I mean, if that revision comes in very bad, dollar yen is probably going to retest 104.5. But I got this sneaky feeling that if it doesn't come out as bad as expected, that we can see like a pretty sharp rally, maybe 148 in it or so. Because the market is really just hoping for anything bearish dollar right now. And yeah, I don't know. It's funds are still very, very bullish yen. Another big one, Jupiter came out this morning saying that its major risk right now is in long yen and short Japanese bonds. So
Huh. Yeah.
there's a lot of people still believing in a much higher yen, which could happen over time, obviously. But looking at what they all do and have done already, I think there's a little bit of a risk over the next starting this afternoon and perhaps the next 2 days. But we will see. I don't have much of conviction on anything right now, but I'm like virtually flat in the dollar. I'm a little
Okay.
long dollar CAD, but against that, still a little long little long gold and a little long my long-term silver. So I'm very my exposure in dollar is virtually flat right now.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
So you really don't have an opinion, or you'd be in
but
it.
I do because being long gold, I still it's still a bit of a negative dollar play in a way, because I mean of lower interest rates, geopolitics, and what else not. So, but I'm very cautious right here and now. So I reduced my positions even further.
Yeah. Okay. Um, let's bring Stell in.
All
So
right.
Stell, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you, Coach?
I just watching your vacation from the sidelines, all your vacations. Nice.
Good. Well, it was a day trip, so my holiday started on Saturday. But anyway, let's have
You
a
want to
look at a
grab the
couple of
charts?
charts. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're going to talk about the dollar, but first I'm going to start with yields as I always do. And forgive me, I look at daily charts or weekly charts. I don't usually look at shorter time periods, but look at this 10-year US. Remember when this was coiling here, I was saying I think we're going to resolve to the downside, both for the yields and the dollar. And this was really nice, almost to the pip retest, and bam. I think we go a little bit lower. My first target is here in the 330s for 10 years. Then I have to reassess and see what happens, with the general situation, geopolitics, economy, etc. But this has broken down very nicely, and I still think we have a little bit more to go. Position is still quite short from what I'm reading, and yeah, so that's for yields. Now the dollar. I've been saying I think it's going to resolve to the downside, and we have broken this 1-year trend line. I think there's a good chance we might retest it. We might see the similar thing like we saw with the 10-year yield, especially if today's revision doesn't come in as bad as people are saying. I've been hearing, like Ryan wrote on the chat here, there have been rumors about 1 million or people saying, oh, between 600 and 1 million jobs. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but if it's better than expected or less bad than expected, then we could easily bounce towards this. But I think this will be a great selling area. So I think we see dollar moving lower, but we could have a little bit of a bounce beforehand. Remember, the world kind of needs a weak dollar, especially emerging markets with dollar debt. And with the way the US deficit is going, debt to GDP 120% and rising, interest payments on debt, I think, if I remember correctly, is about 50% of total tax revenues, which is insane, but that's where we are. So, and this goes back to yields. The US, they need to have low yields because they need their interest payments to be as low as possible. So, what happens? We get more and more supply in treasuries. Who buys them? At the moment, there's external institutions, whoever, they're buying it. Worst case scenario, the Fed starts buying again. And I think that's the ultimate end game. As much as they like to deny it or say that they might not do it again, I think they're going to be doing that. So that's my view for the dollar. The pound is interesting. Euro pound has been, if you remember, I've been saying below 85 is bearish. We had this huge spike when we saw stocks selling off. We spiked above 86. We backed down to this area. You have to admit that this is a very clear line, or let's say area around 85, 85.20 or something like that. As long as we're above this, we are now, I think we're now bullish. But this is a very important zone that we need to see how that resolves. And remember, we have the new Labour government in the UK, which theoretically Labour governments are not good for the currency. And Keir Starmer, the new prime minister, has already shown how quickly you can make U-turns on your pre-election promises. And I don't know. It doesn't look good for the currency with this government, but of course miracles can happen. So at the moment, if you ask me, I would probably be buying this pair as we get close to this 85 level. Nice level, and where you're wrong. If you break below, then all bets are off and you're out. Metals, you talked about gold and silver. Gold has broken out of this channel, making new all-time highs. And the incredible thing with gold is that we are seeing no real pullbacks. Even during this 2-year period here from 2021, when rates started rising quite fast, this was a very nice and controlled sideways consolidation in an environment where really they should have been suffering. So gold, new all-time highs. I see no bearish indications about it at all. Silver is trying to follow. Silver always follows with a lag. I was watching a video today, 6 to 9 months, they were claiming that it's a lag. Well, maybe, but once silver starts going, it goes ×2. But it's still technically within this channel, so I'm not celebrating about anything. 31 is a level where I think we start looking at for quite higher levels. Platinum is looking better today, and the ratio is bouncing, but still, I am long this, still within a very, very big consolidation move. Very, very patient with this until it breaks above this trend line. I'm going to add more there, but I am in silver and platinum and some miners as well, about taking my time and being very careful. Other than that, I don't have much to add. Crypto's going sideways. Very nice channel for Bitcoin. In the middle, nothing to add. So I'm not going to waste anybody's time, and I'm going to pass it back to you.
Nice, nice recap of things, Stel, and
Thank
nice,
you.
nice forecasts that manifested. So let's bring in the boss. How you doing, Bruce?
Bruce Lee? What,
Bruce
good
Wayne.
morning, guys. How are you?
The boss, man.
Bruce
Bruce
Springsteen.
Springsteen.
Got
yeah.
it. Got it. You know, there's someday when we have more time, I'm going to tell you guys a joke about this whole Bruce Springsteen thing. That's something about my has something to do with my childhood. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Happy BLS Revision Day. This is Ryan's favorite day of the year.
Yeah, Ryan loves. And when did this pop out of the ether?
I think it's because everybody knows that the Fed's so focused on jobs, and there was going to be, it's interesting. The Fed has said, and if you go back to previous meetings and during his press conferences, he would say, the jobs data might be overstated. So this is something that the Fed's already very well aware of. But the market is making a big deal about it because it is that they think that the number is going to be large. I mean, the whisper number is like 600,000, possible, more jobs. And, obviously if we get towards 1 million, that's going to be, that's what everybody's leaning into. Everybody thinks they hear the 1 million number and they're like, oh boy, we need to sell dollars. And I think that probably has just fueled the fire in the dollar sell-off. And so, people and traders and journalists, everybody, Dale, looks for reasons why you're seeing moves. Yeah, like why is the euro trading, above 110? Oh my God, it must be the BLS estimation. As Ryan pointed out, it's not something that normally the market's focused on, but since we all know that this number could have a bit of an effect not only on the Fed, but as K-Man's been mentioning, the last 24 hours or so, that it could maybe shape what Powell says on Friday in his speech. So that's why it's kind of, as I said in the tweet this morning, it's captured the attention of the entire world. Everybody's like, oh my God, what's it going to do to the markets? And, stocks have screamed higher because they think, oh, well, he's definitely going to kick the door open for 50 basis point cut, in next month. And he's going to be super dovish. And, obviously the risk now is the number comes in, 500,000, jobs, and everybody goes, oh, that's what we thought. And then you get to buy the rumor, sell the news, or in this case, sell the dollar, buy it back on the news, sell it on the rumor, buy it back on the, the inverse might happen. But obviously if it is like 1 million jobs, it could really shake up the market even further than we've seen.
Yeah. We have a real interesting setup, Blake. I mean, bonds are saying we're headed for a recession. Let's face it, a dollar breakdown, and you could debate that maybe it didn't break down yet until it takes out par. But those are not signs of economic strength. And the market is, the market's either wrong or the bonds and the dollar are wrong.
Well, and that's another thing, Dale. I'm glad you bring that up. Something that we've been talking about. If you go into the ForexAnalytix chat room and you go into the news and research room, K-Man and I were talking about this. This is just an article I believe this one is in Bloomberg, talking about the number of leveraged positions and Treasury futures have risen to all-time highs ahead of, Jackson Hole. So everybody's leaning into, stronger bonds, lower yields. Dollar's going to get wrecked. Here's
long bond positions are at a record high,
apparently,
or shorts.
No, hang on. Those are also just futures, and don't.
Yeah, futures.
There's other positions in bonds out there, but yeah, I mean,
Is that COT? That's not COT data, is it?
I don't know.
Commitment of
I'm
trade.
not sure. It's here. You can read it right here. And these are, probably it's
Okay.
accumulation historic levels, maybe on based on time.
I see.
But regardless, yeah, because it's not CFTC data, because you can go and look at CFTC data, and it's not going to be like that aggressive. But probably just due to the how quickly the markets turn, and we've obviously been talking about it because we've been talking about how bullish the ZNs have been when they broke out of the triangle a month ago. When we broke out here, Dale, and you were talking about TLT. So, the market's obviously leaning into, stronger, 10, 30 years, looking for lower yields, weighing on the dollar. And the problem is if the number is not so aggressive, you can see a little bit of that unwind. Then the problem is, and then you go, this is the kind of setup I talked about on the week ahead video. Then the risk is if you get a dollar reversal today because the number was just, you got to buy the rumor, sell the news, or in this case, sell the rumor, buy the news. And then you have a pal that is really not as dovish as the market hopes. You could really see a big reversal in the dollar setting up. And this is, as you pointed out, Dale, just a moment ago. Yeah, we're breaking down in the dollar. We are, below what I consider very, very critical support, the triangle support. But also, if you guys didn't see it last night, the dollar index hit a massive confluence of supports. And if you didn't see that support level, there's a 127% extension of that move, 161% extension of the last move higher that we stopped on a dime at 101, basically 28. And we've been recovering, overnight. And if the dollar, recovers from here, it's going to end up catching people wrong-footed. There's a lot of people leaning into the dollar short trade right now. Look at the dollar Canadian, look at the euro, look at the Aussie and the Kiwi. There's a lot of people leaning into it, and so we got to be really very careful here, especially this time of year. It's summertime, and any which way you slice it, there's a lot of people away from their desks. A lot of these moves they seem aggressive because there's lack of liquidity. So when the market starts pushing in one direction, it goes a little bit further and a little harder than you tend to expect because there's not a lot of liquidity. There isn't a lot of people standing in the way. So if you end up going the other direction, you could get a very aggressive move going the opposite direction. And that's the risk over the course of the next, let's call it 2 to 3 days, in the event that, things work out a certain way. That's why I think you have to be very, very careful. K-Man said a little bit earlier, he's not running a lot of dollar positions. I have dollar positions on, but they tend to be pretty light, because there are a lot of risks right now. Brian, as I was mentioning, is your favorite day, this BLS data, as we got more people have tuned in since you started talking earlier this morning. Tell us why this is your favorite day of the year to come out. I'm being sarcastic, obviously.
Yeah, no one ever paid attention to this day. Usually the main one is the one we get in January, because this is actually a preliminary. That
was good. Are you still on holiday?
Preliminary revision. It's not even the final revision. We get that in February. So this is just a halfway mark revision. And I don't know. The market's going to do what the market wants to do with it. I'm just going to sit back with a tub of popcorn and trade the after effects. And if I see any decent levels, If I get 112 in euro dollar, that's something I'm looking at. Massive level up there, and then we'll see what happens over this 136 in dollar CAD.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, dollar CAD's trying to probe that. I mean, we're at the 130. This seems like the risk. If you guys, follow us on Twitter, I, made sure that went out this morning. And if you guys, obviously if you're, ForexAnalytix traders, you saw the update here. It does look like we're going to try to push stops, below that support. I mean, that's the risk right now. It looks like it wants to trigger stops. Now, what we do with that after that happens is to be seen. But, I bet there's a lot of people long against this level that's been, pretty much intact since February. So, why not push the stops below there, because the market is seditious like that. One of the other things that's not getting a lot of play, and I think we need to discuss about it, is that you have Blinken, who just returned from the Middle East, no ceasefire deal. Ryan was just posting a little headline.
That's not a good sign.
No, and Ryan was just saying here you guys can read this, and this is the ForexAnalytix chat room if you guys want to this comes in from the Iranian Observer, warning the country that their missiles are to be fired by August 22nd, which is tomorrow. I mean, I don't know how valid or excuse me, how good that that news source is, but I will tell you, just like what Dale said, when Blinken is probably trying to make a little bit of a show for the DNC, and they remember there's,
it would have been great press. Yeah,
it would have been great press if he could have done something right. The fact of the matter is he's leaving empty-handed, and there's been, if things start to escalate there, I want to point out that the Euro Swiss in particular, this is one that I have my eyes on, because we have rallied back substantially from taking out these lows back below 92.50. We've come back quite aggressively. We're basically trying to develop some sort of flag, but if things unravel in the Middle East, the Swiss franc could really be bought again. And if you look at like the Euro Swiss, there's a lot of downside here. There's a couple hundred pips. The dollar Swiss stopped exactly where it should have. I was short right up here, up against this previous support that acted as current resistance. I got short last week at 87 something or other. 87.10 I think is where I was short on my average. And but you look, and there's still, Swiss franc could do some damage to the upside before Swiss National Bank probably tries to rein it in a little, which they're notorious at doing. But anyway, we just have a couple of minutes, and I know having Stelios here is really nice to have him here today. But I didn't get a chance to really go round robin and find out everything everybody's looking at. But let's try just one thing that you're looking at today, as we have the FOMC minutes a little bit later. We'll see how much talk there was about the July meeting, and how many people were looking at what some of the governors were thinking. But that's what people are going to be looking at for the FOMC. But let's start with K-Man. K-Man, what's the one thing you're looking at? I know you mentioned a few things like the Rand today.
Yeah, I mean, inflation came off a bit in South Africa, and there may be a bit of building up expectations for a rate cut coming. So this is a currency pair that I'm keeping an eye on in case we get not so dovish or bearish dollar data or comments today, because we do have the minutes, as Fed minutes as well, but usually I don't pay too much attention to those. Yeah, so that's one. If we get back above 90, 95, we could have a bit of a run there on the rand.
Perfect. Ryan, how about you? I know your eyes are on the dollar CAD right now as we're probing the support, but anything else that you're looking at, or is this it?
just managing my Kiwi dollar. I've got some decent margin in that, so I'm not overly concerned about it. My stops are locked in. If we get up to that 62 area, I might get interested, either to flip it short if I'm still long, or to initiate a short, because that's a big old level up there.
You know, one thing I'll mention about the Kiwi is if you look at this weekly trend line, this comes from you know, all the way back to, you know, post-COVID lockdown rally highs. We've been capped by this trend line, and we're above it right now. But we've been above it before. We're like back in June, we were above it, and then we slipped back below it. So that's my fault. And so we are above it right now. So, you know, and we've come out of a channel. So yeah, that 62 level probably pretty important. You know, 61, you know, maybe 61 cents, probably pretty important support on the way down. And Dale, I'm going to go to you. What are you looking at today?
Hello?
Yeah, here we can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, what are you looking at today?
Well, you know, I've been bearish dollars for a while, and I'm hoping that you know, between here and par 50, and maybe today was it, that we get a dollar bounce to sell into. I don't think the Dixie does much better than 103-ish. So, you know, I welcome that rally. I think this is a new trend that's going to support the metals. I think it's a vote of no confidence in America. I think it's a big deal that the dollar is breaking down, a very big deal.
Yeah,
So,
it definitely looks ugly.
Yeah, so I mean, you could say anything you want about, you know, the stock market. The biggest markets, as we all know, being FX traders, is FX, and the dollar is kind of the fulcrum of the wheel. And if the dollar is going to be taking 10% hits and stuff, the implications may not show up right away, but it's not a great thing for any country to have their currency under pressure, especially a high debt country. And here we are.
And here we are.
I think
Stelios,
Roman said it was that's the Fed's worst nightmare, is the dollar depreciating with yields going up.
yeah, well, you know, if you see dollar down, bonds down, and stock market down, that's a pretty negative thing. I mean, that would be extremely negative. Period. End of story. I mean, full stop. Stelios, I know you're here. What are you looking at? You thinking? Maybe I think he just left. Dang it, he was here just a second ago.
You know,
I know.
on stage.
And look, I'm gonna point this out, guys. I pointed this out in the ForexAnalytix chat room. This is something that I think we need to be watching, just because the euro is what I consider, you know, at pretty key resistance here. If we get a break of yesterday's lows, which would be about 110.70 roughly, that would be a bearish outside day. There's a lot of work to be done, but just because of what we're expecting today, that's something that if we get back below 111 and we're trading down towards 110.70, you got to be a little careful with dollar shorts. I'm with Dale, though. I think you could probably buy the euro on a dip back down to 110, but you know, near term, just based on everything that's happening on, you know, the rest of the week with Powell.
Let it happen. Let it happen. And
yeah,
like Ryan says, know your levels, act at your levels.
Exactly. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for everybody tuning in. Make sure you guys check out ForexAnalytix, $1 for 10 days. Download the mobile app. Come join us in the chat rooms. Check out all those cool tools and little bells and whistles we have running around our app and our mobile app and our desktop application, which actually has more of the tools. Come check us out. Dale, I'll pass it over to you so you can have a great interview.
Yeah, more than that, everyone, immerse yourself in a community that supports you. Okay, we have one here. Neil knows the value of community. That's why you go to all these Bitcoin expos, because those are your people, and it looks like that's what you're doing. I mean, what a life, Neil. Welcome back. You just go from expo to expo wearing your shirts.
Yeah, so conference the conference. I was just in Nashville last month. It was the
Nice.
Bitcoin 2024 conference. Uh Already ready for the next conference they're throwing, which is in Las Vegas in May. I think it's going to be the biggest conference, Bitcoin conference ever. So if you're interested, Dale, definitely
Yeah.
maybe I could hook you
Huh?
up with some tickets.
All right. Hey, that's nice. What did you think when you uh President Trump had to file his financials, and he owns 1 million in crypto?
Yeah, you know, that is interesting to me. You know, there's a bigger story going on in terms of like just politicians, you know, warming up to Bitcoin. It tends to be more on the conservative side of the aisle, but we're seeing some Democrats here and there. But the Overton window has shifted, right? It's now acceptable to be pro Bitcoin. You're not just looked at like a
Yeah.
crazy Looney Tune like people have looked at me for years in the past. Now it's, oh, you don't know about Bitcoin? Like if you met
Yeah.
someone on the street today and you said, "Oh, have you heard of Bitcoin?" You'd expect they'd probably know by now. You know, just I'd say maybe like, you know, a handful of years ago, that wasn't the case.
Okay. So, because of it being, at least the awareness being permeating now. Um, what are the issues that you see? I know you're with Swan, and
I'm no longer with Swan.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was there a black swan?
There was a black swan at Swan. You know, this is all public, but they had to
All right.
do like a layoff, and they laid off half the staff, almost half the
Wow.
staff. But I'm still confident in the people that work at Swan. They're really good people, and I think they'll turn it around. And yeah, so I'm still bullish
Is
on
there, yeah, is there a lack of retail interest? Business is down. Well, I
No,
mean,
there was some other things going
oh,
on, and you know, I don't want to really like
okay.
comment on it
Bec
because it literally just happened a month ago. But you know, I'm confident in the people there that they'll be able to turn it around, and I'm still friendly with you know, the people that are there. But I have a
all
lot of
right.
other things going on too as well. So
Okay. Well, don't forget me. So anyway, I was wondering if it had anything to do with, Bitcoin's actually been, even though it's real reflexive, it's been in this channel forever, and Bitcoin likes headlines,
yeah, no,
and
that situation is completely separated from the price. That's like a
okay,
specific thing. So no, I wouldn't tie those two things together. But yeah, no, the Bitcoin price, it's been nice and choppy for the last
yeah,
few months. You know, we've
yeah,
kind of seen in past, you know, people refer to cycles in Bitcoin, kind of every 4 years, or more precisely every 210,000 blocks, there's a Bitcoin halving. And usually after that time, it usually doesn't ramp up until like the end of the year, in like 6 months to 12 months afterwards, where you really see like a lot of bullish action. Now, I don't know if like the past will necessarily mean that will happen again. But this is not unusual to see with Bitcoin. And you know, as soon as people kind of get bored with it, or
right.
dejected, or this asset can't do anything, we know what usually happens next. So, you know, stay tuned, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, really, it looks like consolidation after a
Yeah.
big move up. It's trying to digest this big move from
You would say that's healthy, right?
15K.
You would
Huh?
say it's healthy right now, what
Yeah,
we're
it's healthy to
seeing.
consolidate. It doesn't mean that it's over the consolidation.
Yeah.
And, it could even correct further. I mean, 40K, would you try and find some extra cash to add? I know you do it mechanically, but if you saw that price level at 40K, what would you do?
There's no price level I'm not buying Bitcoin at, Dale. You know that because you know
Okay, all right.
it's going
I
up
know you're
further.
completely on, but wouldn't that
You
be
know,
w-
sorry, go
wouldn't
ahead.
that be nice though?
Yeah, hey, for people, it's nice for anyone who understands this asset, you know, and can get in and buy cheaper Bitcoin.
We do have a different development since you and I last talked,
Okay.
because in one way or another, I'm not saying the dollar is competition, but it's just something else that people could keep their money in, right? And now, after weeks and weeks and weeks of sideways action in the dollar is breaking down. So we may be entering a big bear market in the dollar. Do you see that as that should be a tailwind? If people start hearing about the dollars going down, they're not only going to think of gold this time, they're going to think crypto.
Yeah, and I don't say crypto, I say Bitcoin, but yeah, I
Okay,
think
I
people.
know, right? That's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, as we know they're just going to print forever, right? It doesn't matter if Trump's in office,
Yeah.
if Kamala wins, they have to keep printing. They have to service the debt. It's an out of control train, and that's not good news for the dollar. It is, right. The dollar index is compared against all the other currencies, so it's you're comparing paper against paper, really, with these kind of things, right? So
Right.
ultimately Bitcoin is the closest thing to perfect money we've ever seen. And I think as you have these sirens going off in the real world economy, more and more people are gonna realize Bitcoin's a solution for them.
Okay, anything on the adoption front that's new since you and I talked?
I think it's been like 6 months since we talked, because I missed our last
I
meeting.
but I was
Apologies.
hoping you wouldn't show up so I could get another t-shirt.
You can have another t-shirt.
I've been
whenever
wearing it on the air a lot. I
Oh,
love
yeah?
I love the hope. Okay. So
No,
I get to,
Dale,
go ahead.
you seem like a very hopeful guy. You always have a very like
Oh,
positive note.
yeah,
I see like a lot of your tweets. And so in case people, if they're watching for this first time, I own a Bitcoin only merchant apparel shop, FOMO21. And a few months ago, I was supposed to come on Dale's show. I totally forgot. And we were talking, and I said, pick out a shirt from my merch shop. I've wanted you to pick one out anyways for a long time, but he's like, no, Neil, you pick one out for me. And that's really difficult, to pick out. We have over 300 Bitcoin designs. So it's like, what fits Dale perfectly? And there's one, that says hope with a Bitcoin symbol and the O. And I'm like, this is perfect for Dale. So I'm happy.
Oh, and I it fits in with my, my routine. That
Good.
hope is the oxygen in our life,
I
but
love
it's
that.
a carbon monoxide in our trading. Hope
I
is in
love
the
that.
plan. Hope is not a plan in the market. You could hope all you want, but we all need hope,
That's
especially
great.
after we do something hopeless,
No, you need
right?
to
So
tweet. You need to tweet that quote out. That's amazing. Is that an original Dale Pinkert quote, or is that from someone else?
no, that's me.
No, you got it. You definitely. I wanna. I wanna.
What did I say?
About oxygen. Hope is
Yeah. Oh,
oxygen
yeah.
with
I have. I've tweeted
heart.
that out. I've
Yeah,
tweeted
no,
that out.
that's a great quote. I might
Okay.
paraphrase you.
Oh, you
If
could
you use it.
no. Go ahead.
But no, look, I'm wearing right now. This is a FOMO21 shirt you got
Yeah.
here, because we're all in election season. I figured
Oh,
maybe.
yeah. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. We're not supposed to get political or anything. Would you say that most of the people you're meeting at these expos, are they talking about November? And do
I
they
mean,
have a like a
how could you not, right? I mean, it's wild. The world's kind of is crazy. And Donald Trump back in, I think it was May or June, really came out forcefully for Bitcoin. He spoke at the Bitcoin conference.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I don't know long term what administration will necessarily be the best in the short or the long term for Bitcoin. What I do know, and as I said earlier, the debt is just going to keep expanding, and there's always a reason to have Bitcoin. I'm happy that people like Trump are talking about Bitcoin. I wish Kamala Harris would come out and talk positively about Bitcoin. For me, it doesn't matter. Like to me, the political system is broken beyond repair. So I don't really kind of like focus on it anymore from the day to day. But the more politicians talking about Bitcoin, the better it is for Bitcoin and for Bitcoiners. You know, there's a saying in the Bitcoin community, like Bitcoin doesn't care, you know, Bitcoin doesn't need politicians, Bitcoin is anti-fragile, and that may be true. But Bitcoiners, people like me in the United States, you know, we are fragile humans, right? And I want policies that are favorable towards Bitcoiners. So whoever's going to go in and do that, that would be good, you know.
How come you haven't moved to El Salvador?
I'm not going to leave the US. I love here. I grew up here.
Okay.
I still believe in a lot of the fundamental principles that, you know, America is supposed to be about. And even though, you know, things seem chaotic, there's still, you know, and hats off to El Salvador and all they've done, you know, when it comes to Bitcoin. And I
Are
wish
you
them.
curious to visit and see what's going on down there? Are a lot of people relocating, going there that are Bitcoiners?
There are definitely some relocating to El Salvador. I think it's, like I said, it's great, the initiative they've taken. A lot of Bitcoiners have just gone down there too out of curiosity. They want to like support a country who has been behind Bitcoin. So yeah, it's great. You know, I hope more and more countries do what El Salvador has done when it comes to Bitcoin and really embrace it.
Okay, interesting. All right, so you know, we're going to have this these people that you meet at the conference. They are they more pro-Trump because he attended a
Yeah,
conference like that?
yeah, they tend to lean that way. But there's plenty of you know, more liberal leaning people in the Bitcoin community. You know, there's a book called The Progressive Case for Bitcoin. And there's plenty of people leading you know, organizations that tend to be more liberal. You know, it's not surprising though, that conservatives generally have been more attracted to Bitcoin over its history. You know, Bitcoin separates money from state. And in theory, you know, conservatives want more limited government, right? And separating things from the government. So separating it from money from government would seem to fall more in line with a lot of that ideology. So I'm not surprised. But Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin provides hope, as you know, like your shirt said, for a lot of people. And there's a lot of reasons why you know, everyone should be attracted to it, but especially, you know, more liberal minded people. So, you know, Bitcoin's for everyone. And I think eventually it's gonna be completely nonpartisan in terms of, you know, US party politics. But for now, there's still, you know, some competing interests who don't want to see Bitcoin succeed. So,
Okay.
you know, there's gonna
Let me
be.
ask you, as a Bitcoiner, and you have been for a while, do you use it to buy things, Neil? Or do you don't want to touch it and you have other revenue streams and you spend the dollars and try not to touch the Bitcoin, your Bitcoin holdings? Or is it part of how you conduct, you know, your daily life and pay for things with Bitcoin?
So I'm gonna be a little cheeky with my answer here, Dale.
All
And
right.
I holding Bitcoin is using Bitcoin. I am, you know, preserving my wealth from currency debasement. Have I ever used it transactionally? I have.
That's what
But
I
you
meant.
know, there's something called I believe it's called Gresham's Law, where you spend the bad money and you hold the good
Okay.
money. So
That's
you know,
okay.
we're so early in Bitcoin's, you know, adoption that it really doesn't make sense practically to spend your Bitcoin, especially with the laws in the US in terms of like capital gains treatment on your
Oh
Bitcoin.
yeah.
In terms of like the infrastructure, it's still being built out. There's a lot of advancement, but no, I don't spend my Bitcoin very infrequently. I have. I mean, I've bought an empanadas with Bitcoin before. So
Okay.
like I have used it, and you can use it, but for now, it just doesn't make practical sense for someone like me.
Got it. Neil, anything you want to leave where people could pick up your cool shirts,
Yeah, so
whether they're
FOMO 21.
Bitcoiners or not?
Yeah,
You could.
FOMO 21. FOMO21.com. We have something for everybody in the Bitcoin world. We even have Bitcoin shirts that aren't obnoxious and say like Bitcoin all the way across. You know, some are just, you know, more if you know type of things. And like I said, Las Vegas next May. If you want to go, Dale, hit me up. I'll try to hook you up with tickets. But for anyone else, if you want to go, buy your tickets now because they keep increasing, and use promo code FOMO, FOMO, and you'll get a discount on your tickets.
All right. Nice offer, Neil. You're a great, like I say all the time, you're a great ambassador
I love that word.
for, huh?
I love that word. The Bitcoin
Okay, you are,
ambassador.
because that's what you do. You're a conduit between, you know, something that you believe in. It's your philosophy. You're walking the talk, and you have a great demeanor for talking about Bitcoin, and you actually feel that you care about people, and that's why you're in it.
Yeah, look, we come to Bitcoin for the money, as they say, but we stay for the money, right? We stay for the monetary revolution. And don't get me wrong, Bitcoin, if it was going to zero, people wouldn't be here. So there is definitely an element of, greed and selfishness here, but those incentives align to really help the world become a better place in this scenario where they don't in a system where currencies are constantly being debased.
And gives them an alternative during the transition to hedge their monetary risk.
Exactly.
All right. So Neil, great talking to you again, buddy.
It's always a pleasure, Dale. Let's put it on the calendar again, and I won't forget.
We'll catch up in November, probably after the elections. We'll have some things
Yeah,
to
is
talk
that
about.
what is it? August, September, October. So it'll be right after the election. Oh my God, we'll have so much to talk about.
All right, buddy.
The world will be a crazy place, I'm sure.
Okay, so also follow Neil on X.
Yes, Twitter, X, at Neil Jacobs, NeilJacobs. Follow Dale too. He's the man. Follow Dale. He has words of wisdom, and like I said, a very hopeful guy. And I mostly only follow these diehard Bitcoin people, but when I see your stuff come across my feed, it helps me reflect. So I appreciate you, Dale.
Great. Yeah, I do it selfishly, but love to share things with people that might encourage them.
Absolutely.
In this world, there's a lot more criticism than encouragement. And if we could just flip that ratio around and encourage people, we'd be living in a different place. So
wise words. It's like Michael Saylor in the Bitcoin space. One of his recommendations, he's like, stay cheerful, stay positive. He's one of the first people that really said Bitcoin is hope. That's one of his kind of lines. So yeah, just stay hopeful, stay positive. The universe kind of has a way of working itself out.
Lift people up and build them up.
That's right.
There's enough tear down out there. So
too much.
So everyone, that's going to be a wrap. Follow Neil. He's the best when it comes to Bitcoin. He would have a conversation with you like he is with me. That's his passion for, that he'd spend time with people. So follow him and talk to him. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you, Dale. Appreciate it.
It was a blast. All right. Everyone take it easy. You could join the team in about 20 minutes on the morning edge. Good hunting today. And, however they revise that number, there's like a big thing today, Neil, about them revising, jobs, that there might be 1 million less jobs.
Human intervention, something Bitcoin doesn't have.
Yeah. You don't care about Paul. You don't care about, it's nice.
Yeah, I sleep like a baby. I don't have to deal with this stuff. I know it does affect sometimes the, people's attitudes toward Bitcoin on a day-to-day basis, but I've always told you I always have a long-term view. So
if you don't, you will go crazy. I can attest to it.
It seems like every week there's a new CPI update, even though it's like once a month, right? But it feels like every week at this point, and things like that.
Yeah. All right, partner. That's a wrap. Everyone have a great day. See you guys tomorrow. And good hunting. Don't just count your pips or Bitcoins. Count your blessings. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks.